I probably should stop my music. Hey, Google, stop. Hey guys, I'm Elise. If you don't know me, I am the customer success manager for DealMachine. I honestly got on 10 minutes early because I have never done a webinar. David ended up having a conflict, and so I'm jumping in. So please bear with me today as I try to figure everything out. I guess like while we're starting here, if you guys want to tell me how long you've been using DealMachine. As the customer success manager, I try to make your experience really easy to understand the technology. I always want to be improving the technology so that, oh, Chris, you've never used it before. Well, hello. Have you signed, so you haven't signed up or anything? Do you know what DealMachine is about? But as my job is, and you probably all have chatted with me when you first start out, because I try to help you through the first couple of days of using it. So if you guys have any feedback, or if you want to just introduce yourself, let you know, where's everyone from? Can you guys just give me a quick like chat of where y'all are from, where we're coming from today? I'm coming from Indianapolis, Indiana. I'll start off. STL in the house. Richmond, Virginia. Nice. Love it. Phoenix, Baltimore. Nice. It was. Oh, you get to hear my dog. Yes, DealMachine. So actually our CTO and our CEO, so David and Dave, the Daves, are from St. Louis, and also Josh, our VP of sales, is from St. Louis as well. I have a friend over, so my dog's like freaking out. But yes, so it's so crazy. They know each other from high school. Like, I'm not that connected with my high school people, so like this is like great. Hi, Mohammed. Orlando, we got two Orlando from Tampa, Florida. Oh, I got you on that one. Hi. Hey.
That's for me?
No, over there.
Oh. Are you live right now?
I am live right now.
Oh my gosh.
I am doing great right now. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I poured myself a glass of wine. I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you this, but I did. It's been a day, guys. I gotta tell you, like I've been trying to, sorry guys, I'm trying to make sure that everyone is joining right. Can everyone hear me okay? Still, if you're joining us right now, give me a shout out to let me know where you're from, where you're listening from, and I'd love to hear how long people have been using DealMachine. Sweet. Tampa, Florida. All right, we got some Florida. You're from Pakistan. You're in Pakistan right now? Oh, wow. Do you use DealMachine? 1 month, nice. Nice, Mohammed. So you're doing virtual wholesaling then, or virtual flipping or virtual real estate investing. That's so awesome. Dang, what time is it in Pakistan? I don't even know. Snap. Woo!
What's up, guys?
I got it working.
little technical difficulties, but all good.
Look at him, Ryan's rocking his bigger pockets. I was just talking about the conference coming up.
Yeah, it should be a good conference. I'm not going to be able to make it, but I mean, I know a lot of really cool people are going, so if you can, you should.
Yeah, you should. Hey, King Cooper. So how's it going, Ryan?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So let's just dive right into it for all of our people. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We have the amazing Ryan, and it's Dossey, right?
Yeah.
Man, I was like, man, I'm going to really screw this up. I was looking through webinars and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to hear him say his last name.
A lot of people throw out like Dossey, but it's fine.
No.
It's like close enough, right? A for effort.
A for effort. So why don't you go ahead, for those who maybe didn't see you on the Ballpoint Marketing thing, give yourself a little bio.
Yeah, absolutely. So for any of you guys who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Ryan Dossey. I'm a buy and hold investor. I live in San Diego, but my entire portfolio is in Indianapolis. We're right at 143 units that we bought in the past 18 months. So yeah, we own about 8.8 million. We're all into them for a little under 6.2. So really solid equity margin. On top of that, working on ramping up to a 7-figure wholesaling business. Quite frankly, we'd already be there, but we were keeping all the good deals before. So we're starting to, be a little bit less selfish. I also own Call Porter as well as Ballpoint Marketing. So yeah, that's a lot, but that's me in a nutshell.
So I know you have something, at least David was talking about, you possibly talking about the BRRRR Method.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into that, I just have to ask for other people, like what can you give advice to people who are starting out in real estate investing? Like what would be like maybe your top 3, top 5 things?
First off, y'all are freaking spoiled. Just the fact that like DealMachine even exists. So when I started, this would have been 4 or 5 years ago. BiggerPockets was still like kind of in its infancy a little bit. There was no books there. I mean, there wasn't even like courses or really coaches. It was kind of just like, if you knew, you knew. So I would have killed for some of the resources that are out now. So for any of you guys that are out here, trying to get started in this, just know like you're totally blessed. The fact that companies like DealMachine are putting this kind of stuff on for you. BiggerPockets does conferences, that kind of stuff. I mean, tons of value. So first off, practice some gratitude, because I would have killed to have what you guys have now a couple of years back. Second piece of advice I've got from day one, you've got to treat this like a business. The vast majority of investors that I talk to don't. They kind of treat it like a slot machine almost, of like, oh, I'm going to drop $500 in DealMachine credits and I didn't get a deal, so this real estate investing thing doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how that works. Like you can't just throw it at the wall and hope you get lucky. The other piece of advice I have is hold your profit margin. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But 2016, not that long ago, I wish it was like further back, because it was kind of like one of my low moments. I did 6 deals. I only made 36 grand that year, barely fed myself, barely put my wife through school. 2017, I did 74 and made a couple $100,000. 2018, we bought 73 units for our portfolio, grossed several $100K in the wholesaling side. And then obviously 2019's here. One of the big things that changed from 16 to 17 was building in enough profit margin. I was talking to an investor recently who was like, yeah, I've done 10 deals this year. And I was like, man, that's awesome. And he's like, no, I'm dead broke. So first off, be around people you can be honest with, right? We can all like post like the check pics, like, oh, made 10 grand, but you're like leaving out that you spent 9 grand in marketing to get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So his average profit was like 5K. It's like, man, my average was 15. I'm now in the low 20s. Imagine how much that would scale if you were able to just build in a little bit more margin, right? So we can kind of chat about that a little bit more at the end. But for any of you guys that are especially wholesaling, your time's worth more than 3K. You're worth more than 3K. Your time's worth more than 5, 10, right? 15. Hopefully we're starting to get to numbers where that starts to excite you a little bit. I'm going to show you a deal at the end of this call that I bought for $210,000, listed for $270,000. I'm netting $265,000 next week. So about a $50,000 spread in 30 days. And I'm in the Midwest. Like I'm not in New York where this is like, oh my gosh, like this is a serious profit margin we pulled out of this deal. And I'm going to show you guys all the aspects of it. So build in profit margin. You're worth it.
Are you an affirmations person at all?
So I used to be, I used to be better at it. Now I'm much more of like a routine systems person. So I like meditating, but I don't talk to myself anymore.
I feel like that would be, and I'm a big affirmations person. I feel like what you just said was so great. Like just saying, I'm worth more than 5K. I'm worth
Absolutely
30K. And like looking at yourself in the mirror and saying that, because I know for me starting out, and when I would like, I'd just be so nervous. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I just want something. I just want some kind of
absolutely. And that's fine for one to like, okay, this works. I made a profit, but then you have to get serious. And like, I think I downplayed my crunchiness a little bit. Like I live in SoCal, drink kombucha, meditate, and walk on the beach at night. So, I mean, we're all a little weird, right?
Oh my gosh, normal's so overrated.
Yeah, right.
You can start answering this if you want, or do you want to just start getting into the BRRRR and we'll hold off?
No, so I'll just kind of hop back and forth between the two, if you're
Okay.
cool with that. Just as I see stuff come up, I'll keep it pulled up. So question for Ryan, what is an average profit on any deal? I don't know if you're a guy or girl. I was going to be like, hey man, but
it's
hey,
a Muhammad. So yes, I think it's
okay, cool. It abbreviated for me. I'm a boy. Love it. Going real well. Okay. So it really depends on your market as well as on your business model, right? So if you're wholesaling to fix and flippers, you're going to get different profit margins than say if you're wholesaling to buy and hold investors, or if you're wholesaling teardowns to developers. So a lot of this comes into just like understanding your market and your niche and looking at ways to maximize your profits. So for instance, if you wholesale to a typical cash buyer, you're probably going to be able to sell a property at 75% of ARV, which, cool. If you are able to, say, find realtors that represent cash buyers, you may be able to get 80 or 85% of ARV, giving yourself a lot more cushion, a lot more profit, right? So I used to be at 3. I then pushed up to 8. We're now at 15. And now we're honestly like low 20s. My last 10 have been north of 20. But at the same time, like, don't be upset about a base hit. Like $8,000 is still $8,000. My wife's really good about this because she's not involved in real estate investing at all. So she'll call me on my BS if I'm allowed to abbreviate swear words here.
Yeah.
I was on the phone with somebody and I was like, it was one of my staff, and I was like, oh, if we're gonna make less than like 8K, is it even worth our time? And she just peeks her head in and she's like, who are you? And I was like, that's fair. Different. She's a psychologist. I'm in real estate investing. So different niches between the two of us. Can anyone get a license or start his career from any other country in the United States? So I don't know. You can definitely wholesale if you don't live here. It's a lot harder. I know people that wholesale in other countries, but that's beyond my area of expertise. As far as getting licensed, I believe you have to be a citizen, but I'm not, like, don't quote me on that. That would be a good question for like the state you're wanting to get licensed in. Real estate commission is where I'd send you for that. All right. Do I make people sign NDAs? Someone stole my deal. No, because no real buyer is going to sign an NDA, because what are they not disclosing? You can file what's called like a notice of interest, or like a memorandum to cloud title, but that can get pretty tricky if you mess up the deal. It's a good way to get sued. So real estate's a pretty small niche. If somebody's going around you, I just wouldn't send them any other deals. Okay. I am going to kind of hop into stuff here. So if I miss your question, re-ask it later. I'm going to kind of just fly through this stuff and then open it up for Q&A for you guys. So what we're going to be talking about here is the BRRRR model. Ooh, yeah, if you haven't heard of it, you've probably been living under a rock somewhere, but the BRRRR model is effectively buying property and paying cash, getting a really good deal, getting it fixed up, that would be renovating it, renting it out, and then refinancing, pulling all of your cash back out. Now, this can be a little bit like intimidating if you haven't done one. At this point, I've done a lot of them, and they're really not that scary. So I'm going to walk you guys through my first one that I did. Some of you guys may have seen this. Some of you maybe not. So this lead in my CRM came in 2 years ago. I own Call Porter, so shameless plug. They took the call here. Booked the appointment for my staff. Lady called in initially asking 120. We ended up getting the property for right at low 90s. This is the property. So when I bought it, I thought comps were about 160, 165. So as you can see, this is kind of a newer Vinyl Village-y property. Has a really cool like park and frisbee golf course front of the house. Was built in like the mid 2000s. Pretty nice house, right? So one thing I want to address, like people don't only sell dumpy houses for cash. There's, I would say a lot of what I own is actually really pretty nice. Comically, when my wife and I lived in Indianapolis, we lived in a house that was like way less nice than most of our rentals. So it's kind of this like funny thing for our family where they're like, you guys live in like a C-class area, but we own all these rentals. So don't be prideful. Don't level up sooner than you need to. So as you guys can see now, his estimate's now 180. Comps are actually about 185. I'm only into this house for 120. Pulls in $1,375 a month. We BRRRR'd out, totally paying off our private lender. So let me walk you guys through this a little bit more, kind of how this looked. So I found the deal and decided, hey, this one's pretty cool. I think I'd like to keep it. I like the area, great part of town. A BRRRR member actually funded the deal for me. If you guys want, if you go to my site, I'll throw it in the chat. It's just ryandossey.com. Nope, I did that where not everybody could see it. Cool. So if there's I've got like a free ebook you can download that gives you like a little bit more of the specifics on this deal, but I actually link to the BRRRR post that funded this deal for me. So I threw something out there of like, hey, I'm looking forward to kind of growing as a real estate investor. I've typically been wholesaling. I'm interested in keeping one. Ping me if you're interested. This guy reached out, said, hey, I'll fund it effectively. So I didn't have any of my own cash in this deal, like none. He gave me enough money to cover my purchase. The rehab, I paid him 8% interest only. That's it. This wasn't hard money. This wasn't 12, 15%. There was no points. And after about a year and a half, I refinanced out, effectively paying him off, moving the property over to long-term bank financing. So the important thing here is we got a really good deal. The other piece that like I think freaks a lot of people out about the BRRRR model is how do I guarantee I'm going to be able to get a mortgage? That's the part where like it takes a little bit of guts, right? Because we can't guarantee what a bank will or will not do.
Right.
That being said, there's a couple good options that work with real estate investors. Just threw one in chat is Lima One. They're going to charge a higher interest rate, but their qualifications are a lot less strict. CoreVest is another one. So there's some good people to look at for cash out refinances. If you don't have private money, there's a group called Iron Bridge Lending. It's like a national hard money lender that I know a lot of people have used. Again, they're going to be more expensive, but that's a good option. There's one other, it's Dominion, I think Capital, Dominion Financial. They're based out of the Northeast. They're actually some of our clients, super, super cool guys. So there's kind of some resources on the financing side, but effectively this all started because we got a $160,000 house for like 98 grand. Now she called in asking 120, right, which wouldn't have worked, right? That was 75%. Dominion is a hard money lender. I love y'all, but I'm not going to give you guys my private lenders' names. And I don't think my private lenders would be happy if I gave out their names either. So that would kind of be my, like, in a nutshell, there's a BRRRR deal from front to back. Really neat thing with this deal, guys. So as investors, we can kind of get a little bit of a bad rap, right? Like, oh, you're just like, that lady could have got more for her house. So this was a really cool kind of progression for me. The lady whose house we bought had just gone through a divorce. Her teenage son decided to take a fist to any solid surface, like drywall, actually punched through one of the sinks.
Oh my.
Didn't know that was humanly possible, but apparently it is if you hit it right. That was actually where most of our rehab went, was drywall, carpet, and paint, because he had a bit of an anger problem.
A bit.
So yeah, a bit. So we bought the house from her. And then it was really, really neat. The family I moved in, this is probably like one of my favorite memories I have, outside of my wedding day, in case my wife somehow watches this.
Good job covering all the bases there.
That's right. So the couple who moved into it were brand new immigrants from Venezuela, had literally gotten their citizenship that day that I showed them the house. And already had jobs and all that stuff lined up. Super, super emotional as they were signing the lease.
Oh.
Like, their kids, their family, everybody just sobbing that they're here, they're safe, right? Super, super neat. They're still in that house. They've been there now for a little over 2 years. So never know, who you're going to meet, but they were like incredible residents. We got a letter from the HOA up there that there was weeds in the flower bed, shot them a text about it, and got a text back of their entire family lined up picking weeds out of
my gosh.
Like, you guys are great. If all residents were like that, there would be no evictions, but take it from somebody who owns 143 units. They're not all that pleasant. Most of them are, but not all of them. Cool. So, Bright, hey man, how are you? I know you. What are typical rates I give my private money lenders? I've tried to get them down to 7%, but they won't do it. So 8 to 9% on average. If it's like a quick deal, like a flip or a wholesale, sometimes I'll offer them a point, which is 1%. So if it's $100,000, I'm paying them $1,000 up front, basically just to justify them moving the money over to me. But 7 to 8%, so quite a bit cheaper than hard money. You're not paying 12, 15, something like that. I am going to show you guys one other deal real quick.
Now, did you say that was your first one that you did with the BRRRR? Okay.
That was my first BRRRR. Yep. Done a lot since then. Some smaller, some larger, some nicer, some not as nice. So kind of runs the gamut. The important thing, though, for anybody who's like getting into the buy and hold stuff, never buy for appreciation. Never buy just for equity. Buy for appreciation in cash flow. So this house, as it sits, pulls in $200, $250 a month, every single month, like clockwork. The important thing with that, if something were to change in the economy, first off, rents in this area are never going to go down $250 a month.
Right.
This is like one of the nicest places in Indianapolis. If Indianapolis drops that much, we have bigger problems than me getting paid rent. So make sure you're buying stuff that cash flows. Looks like got a question here. When wholesaling a deal, do I prefer to double close or assign? All right, so I'm a sissy. I don't like confrontation. So I double close the vast majority unless it's like somebody I know. So there's a couple guys that I work with all the time that if they're buying something, I'll be like, hey, you're going to give me a, $10,000 assignment on this. What I find with a lot of people, like, you never know their exit strategy. So maybe they're trying to flip it and they're hoping to make 5 and they find out you're making 40, right? Like, they may get upset. We can all like stand on the high horse and be like, well, if it's a deal, it's a deal. That's not really how a lot of people work, right? For a lot of people, it's like, they want to think you're winning just a little bit. Like, they value you at 3K, but you should value yourself at 30, right? So I tend to double close most things unless it's like I'm making like $5,000, in which case I'm like, hey, there's a $5,000 assignment. I'm just going to assign this to you. How did I choose Indianapolis as a market? I didn't. It chose me. So I was born in Hawaii, lived in Denver for a while, lived in St. Louis for a while. That's where I met my wife. She went to grad school in Indianapolis after we got married. So just kind of ended up in the market. I was doing a little bit of stuff in St. Louis and was like, I mean, that's where I live now. So I knew I barely knew the market when I started. I honestly didn't even really know it for the first couple of years. I was the guy who oh, this isn't the worst part of town and they want to meet me at 1 a.m. on a Friday. Sure, I'll go, because I didn't know that it was not the best part of town.
Yeah.
So still here though. Right. Do I do Section 8? Michael, so I've bought a couple rentals that were already Section 8. So I guess, yes, I do them, but it's not a strategy. I do have an 8 unit that we're debating moving over to Section 8 because we can get more in rent that way, because they're all 3-bedroom units, but not totally sure. Any tips on finding a title company that'll double close? I heard a lot don't prefer or accept it in Virginia. Your best bet is going to be to ask that question on something like a large Facebook group or a Bigger Pockets. Local recommendation is going to be what you need. Other than that, you can call a whole bunch of them, right? And just ask, smile and dial. But Brendan, do I buy in C-class areas? Kinda, not really. Like maybe C+. I've got maybe 3 that I would classify as C-class. If I'm buying in a C-class area, I'm buying for an area that looks like it's going up in value. So I'm buying for appreciation, but it's also cash flowing. King Cooper, I'm here in Indy. What title companies do you use? See, I can help you out with this, man. Monument Title Agency, owned by Dan Bostic. He does all my stuff. Super good guy. Tell him I sent you. Hawker Law is another one. A lot of guys use them. I run everything through Monument just because, I don't know, I'm loyal. Put a property under contract, mobile home on a brick foundation. Everything else in the neighborhood is a SFH. Where do I price this at? I would try to talk to local real estate agents for something like that. So this is one of my rules. I don't do, especially buy and hold, but even like wholesaling, I don't really mess with stuff that's not typical. What I mean by that is like what you're talking about. You're in an area with nice properties and you've got a mobile home. It's going to be pretty hard to comp out. I had a deal one time that came across my desk. Great deal, but it was a log cabin. There were no log cabins. So insurance, comps, all that stuff would have just been a nightmare. Not to say that you can't make money on that kind of stuff, but guys, there's easier way to make money than trying to pull the rabbit out of the hat and turn a deal into a deal that's not there. Am I looking for more deals in Indianapolis? I mean, always. Operative word there being deals. I'm real blunt. If you send me something that's not a deal, I'll tell you. So politely, I mean, I won't make you feel bad about it. I'll tell you where you need to be. But Cheryl, can you ask that question again? What did I miss from Cheryl?
Cheryl asked, let me come up here. She asked, how can I get a lost title? I purchased my first rental property virtually trusting the owners and come to find out they do not have the title.
So is this like a quit claim deed? I'm hoping not for your sake, but.
No.
Okay. So how do they not have the title? Did you go through like a title company? Because they would have done a title search. a lot of the times what can happen, title can be dirty. Like there's a lot of people on it, title's corrupt, something like that. And you may have to do like a quiet title suit that takes like 90 days to get clean title. But I don't know that I'm following how you bought a property and didn't get title to it. If you didn't do like a quick claim deed or something.
We can go on until she oh.
Cool. Okay, so Sean, on September call, you mentioned one of the targets for mailers, absentee owners with equity and seniors. So I do 35 to 100%. I don't know why, it's arbitrary. At that metric, I've never had anybody that really can't afford to sell to me. I have had a lot of people that didn't want to sell to me at my price, but I don't run into many like where they owe more than I can pay. I have a lot that are close, which is why I think we've stopped at 35 and not dropped down to 30. The other thing you want to keep in mind, like if you're using list source or something of that nature, all of that data is going to be subjective. So it's not going to be perfect. It's their best estimate of that person's equity. They don't know if that person, say, paid $10,000 extra down to pay the mortgage down or something like that. They wouldn't have that info. Christopher, have you ever purchased any foreclosures? One. They're typically a pain and they typically won't sell for what you want them at, especially now. Back in 2008-9, you could buy them like hotcakes. I had buddies that would make 30 offers a day and get 2 or 3 a day. Doesn't really work that way anymore. They're typically looking for like 80-90% of ARV, which doesn't work for me as an investor. Ever done any deals with owners who owe a lot of taxes? Not really. Not that couldn't be paid off by their profits. I've had judgments that we've like negotiated down, but typically taxes and HOAs, they don't really negotiate down because they don't need to. John, are you still pulling lists from the courthouse or do you use things like list source or lead list? So we do everything. Driving for dollars, courthouse, list source. I don't use the other ones you're talking about, but pretty much if it's like a credible source for pulling lists, we've used them or tried them. I sent them cash from California. And when I came to Louisiana, we were going to do the contract and paperwork. But when I came here, they tell me they don't have the title. So Cheryl, I would contact an attorney. It sounds like you sent somebody money that they just pocketed and they don't really have a house for you. So I'm sorry to be the one to tell you that, but I would seek legal representation at this point. What about real estate?
Oh, sorry. There's one before that said, what led to the deal jump from the first year to second? Funding, scaling of systems?
Good question. Consistency. Making offers on everything, marketing every week, whether I could afford it or not. A lot of wholesalers, investors put themselves on what I call like the 6-figure hamster wheel. So they'll like drop mail, get calls, work those calls, get a couple deals or get a couple to contract, try to turn it into a deal, but they've stopped everything before that. So when they get to closing, they turn around and they have nothing else going and they've got to start all the way back at the beginning. And then they're like, geez, why am I only doing 1 deal a quarter? Well, you're taking 2 months off of your prospecting, right?
Right.
So I got consistent. I made offers on everything. I sent mail regardless of whether I could afford it, which like is fun to talk about now because it worked. But back then I was like, it's either going to work or I'm going to be the biggest idiot out here. Right. So
it's one of those times where you have to see if you're going to fail or not. Just dive. I feel like so many people in this industry say like, you're never ready. Just dive. Just like,
yeah. I've taken more leaps of faith than I can count. I haven't hit rocks in the water yet. I mean, I can't say that'll like always be my track record, but I went full time as an investor with $5,000 to my name and $3,000 a month in bills. I did my first real estate deal by putting marketing on a credit card I couldn't pay off without telling my wife. If you're married, not a great idea. So full disclosure there. Okay. Somebody asked about being licensed. I'm a licensed real estate broker. done a couple hundred deals, and I've never had an issue come up with me being licensed. How many cash buyers do I have? That's hard. On like my actual list, I've only got about 1,400, but I pull lists when I get deals in those areas of realtors that have done deals, reach out to them and see if they still have buyers. It's actually how I sell most of my deals. So kind of hard to put a number on that. There's typically like a couple hundred to maybe 1,000 per zip code. And we're going to do like, I think we got 3 more of these, right? After this one.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So for any of you guys that like have a question that we miss, I'm not ignoring you. There's just like, I haven't scrolled and there's 20 more questions and I still have some other stuff I want to show you guys. So if like you have something and we miss it, bring it next time, or you can find me on Instagram and shoot it to me there. I respond to like 99% of my stuff there too. So if we miss it, I'm not ignoring you. I'm literally just arbitrarily picking questions. There's no method to my madness. For wholesaling, how do I determine a great deal? I do 75% minus repairs, minus the profit I hope to make, which is typically about a $10,000 margin minimum. A lot of you guys are probably struggling with estimating repair costs. Jay Scott has an incredible book on this. One of the best books I've read on any of that kind of renovation stuff.
I have to write that down.
Yeah, Jay Scott's book on estimating repair costs. He's also just a super solid, like, family guy. Somebody can write a great book, and if I think they suck, I just won't promote it.
I mean, so, I hear you.
Like, no, I don't like you. Okay. Did I ever get sued for breach of contract for not closing? So it's really, really rare that I've pulled out of a deal. Like I can probably count on one hand the number of deals I've not done. I had one guy try to sue me once. My attorney told him to pound sand, and I never heard from him again. So he was like, I'm going to sue you. I was like, great. Here's her contact info. And then it was like crickets. It was like, cool. I called this bluff, right? One of the things we do, if anybody ever threatens that, is like, you don't get to talk to me anymore. You can only talk to my attorney. So, okay, I'm going to show you guys another deal.
Yes.
The last one I showed you guys was one from 2 years ago. I don't want you guys to think that I haven't done any deals in the last 24 months. So I'm going to show you one. I'm going to show you one from last month. All right, everybody got me here?
I can see you.
Cool. All right, so this is Podio for any of you guys who aren't familiar with it. I love you guys get to see the personality of my staff, like holla dollar bill, y'all.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
We're only professional. We have no fun. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a like A-class area in Indianapolis. This is in Carmel for anybody who knows the area.
Ooh.
Yeah. So again, people don't only sell ugly houses. So, I mean, just kind of like a cluttery house, you know, kind of like big, unupdated, random, just like junk everywhere. Just not updated, right? Is ultimately what the issue with this one was, but pretty cute. Like this is an owner occupant could move into this tomorrow and live here with no problems. I mean, there was already one in there before we got it. So kind of just like junk everywhere, but you know, newer furnace, newer water heater, no real like major repairs or anything. Now I'm gonna smack y'all around a little bit. A lot of you guys wouldn't have made this lady an offer or wouldn't have ran this call. Okay. She called in asking 280 grand, which is pretty much retail. I think Zestimate was like 270. I only say that as a reference point. Zestimate doesn't really mean anything. Another. So she called in asking 280. Most investors I know are of the mindset that like, oh, the person has to be like desperate for me to buy their house, or like they have to be moving or like in foreclosure or like have issues, like a property that's in terrible shape. So this lady, we went out, ran the call. We straight told her like, don't sell me your house. Like you can get more on the MLS. Just list your house. Excuse me. Zestimate's 300. So we like ran our numbers and we came out to like, we'd be at like 200. And we're like, look, she's like, no, just make me an offer. I don't want to deal with like the processes and the hoops. We're like, cool, 190. And it was like, and it was like, I mean, you asked, so that's where we'd be at. And she was like, oh gosh, no. Back and forth. We got it for 205.
So how long was that like back and forth, you think? Or
lead. No, I can tell you. Lead initially came in on June 13th. We got it under contract on July 13th. So 30 days.
Yeah.
So nothing like insane. Now you guys saw how kind of like ugly and cluttered that house was, just like kind of like junk everywhere. So literally all I did, used private money, paid the guy 8% interest. We had somebody professionally take photos. Notice how like light and washed out and nice these are. Still the same house, still the same like awful baseball mural. So emptied it out, had professional photos taken for like $300. Like, I mean, you can see like we literally did nothing. Like carpet, we didn't even clean the carpet. The only thing we did, we put in a new furnace because we knew it needed one. I listed this at 279. I took a cash offer for 265. I closed on this about 45 days ago. So in less than like 2 months, we'll have made a $45,000-$50,000 net profit to us on one deal. Now, if I had just tried to wholesale that house, I would have made 10, maybe. But because I raised the cash, closed on it, turned around and listed it, you guys want to know something else kind of cool with this one? So I told my lender, like, hey, I need 210. I only needed 200. She had like prorated taxes and some stuff. So I actually got $8,000 of profit on this deal up front. Like before we've even, just from my private lender. So before we even sold. So pretty neat.
Oh my gosh. And that was this year?
Yeah. I mean, that's like, that closes on October.
Oh yeah, it's like 26 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah. That closes on October 11th, next Friday. But all inspections have been done. Buyers paying cash. Title companies cleared to close. Done deal. So somebody's asking who contacted you on that deal. Seller contacted us or we contacted her. So typically we contact them first through like direct mail. Typically, let me see on this one. Yeah. So this one we sent a letter. Owner occupant with equity, senior, like pretty common list, nothing magical. It wasn't like, reverse hospital liens or anything magical. Nobody's heard of, just a list source list. A lot of you guys are asking private money questions on how to find them. We're going to do a whole call on that.
Woo woo.
So we'll dive into that deep. Rick, private lender, didn't ask for the purchase agreement. No, I told the private lender, I'm buying it for 200. I want 210. And he was like, okay. I mean, what does he care? Like, right? He's got a $210,000 loan on a $300,000 A-class house in a great part of town that from the time we listed it to went under contract was less than a week. Like if I didn't make my payments to him, that would have been a huge blessing for him. Right. Like he was like, worst case scenario, you pay me back. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's why, you have no problem, getting that answered. Cheryl, I'm sorry we missed your question.
No, Cheryl, he told you to look for an attorney.
Okay, that's the same Cheryl.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, private lender knew what we were making on that. Will says, I've got a friend who wants to become a partner. How would I structure that? I'm already all set up with courses and such. Does your friend have enough money to fund your deals for you? If not, you probably don't need a business partner. I've had a lot of business partners. I still have some. I've got businesses I have partners or other owners in, and then stuff that I just own. A lot of new investors try to like partner up, and it's kind of like two people who don't know how to swim that are in like a pool that's filling with water. Like, you guys aren't going to help each other. So
Will
I tend to,
says he's a contractor, roofer, and general contractor.
I mean, he could give you repair cost estimates on properties, and if you choose to flip something, could be a good resource for you. But if he's got enough cash to act like a private lender, that's another good option for you. King Cooper says, congrats. Thanks, man. Pretty cool. Pretty easy deal. I mean, nothing like,
You can do it too.
I mean, yeah, like literally this, like our only like skill in that deal was like making our offer and following up with her. And it was like, you know, she went from like 270 to like 250 to like 240 to like 230. And we were like, no, like we're not coming up over 204. And she was like, okay, I'll just take it. And we were even like, why? like, I mean, you just, you know, we were super honest with her. Anybody else have any other questions?
Do you take a finder's fee when you do partnerships if you source the deal?
I mean, everything's negotiable, right? I would, you know, so it really just depends on the partnership though, like what the goal of it is, what you're trying to do. What percentage do you offer realtors who bring buyers to close the deal? So realtors get to pay me more money. So if I shoot out a deal for like 100, I'm going to send it out to realtors for like 106, but I always bribe them with more than they normally make. So instead of being like, oh, I'll give you 2.5%, I'll be like, hey, I'm gonna give you 6. On like hoodie stuff, like low end stuff, I'll be like, I'm paying a 14% BAC. You know, I have their attention. And it's like, what is that? Like $3,000? Like, cool, right? I'd pay more co-wholesaling with somebody, but that gets them all excited.
Oh, that's interesting. So what list has given you the most deals?
Absentee owners with equity. There's just the most of them, right? Like I can pull all like the niche lists and stuff, but here's the thing. Absentees, I can pull 100,000 of them right now to mail. So there's a certain like economy of scale. So I think a better question, if I may point you in that direction, is what has been the most effective list, not what's brought me the most. Most effective, and this is awful as somebody who's married and doesn't believe in divorce, I freaking love divorce leads. Like nothing like two people who hate each other who don't want to have to live together anymore, and the only thing making them live together is that they haven't sold their house yet.
Well, that is true.
It's even like my favorite, if we're going to go like a little bit darker, is when only one of them's on title. Ooh. And then like even better than that is when it's the wife that's on title and the husband cheated. Because then it's like, what do you care about? We were at an appointment one time, and they were both there, and like husband was talking, and she goes, I'm the only one that's on title. And I was like, hold on a second. What are you saying, ma'am? It was like, you no longer exist to me because she hates you and you don't get a say in this. Right. So how do you get divorce leads? County, luck of the draw. I mean, it really just depends on your market. You can call your courthouse and see if they'll give out records of it. Some of them do, some of them don't. So I would start there.
I like Chris's question just because it does, like, it says DealMachine seems great, but there's PIN, REI Pro, etc. What format do you prefer for quality leads?
All right, I'm a level with y'all.
Level. You know what? And this is just level.
Oh, I mean, I think I've been level. I'm a level with y'all more, right? there's no magic tool or application that is going to just give you sellers who are like, oh gosh, just take it from me. It does not exist. Trust me. If it existed, guys like me and David would have built it and then not shared it with any of you guys. Like, I mean, let's be real, right? I honestly, DealMachine's metrics for how fast you guys are getting deals off of how little marketing is incredible. Like, I'm telling you, when I got started in this, the sales pitch I was given was, buy yellow letters from me. You're going to pay me $1.30 a piece. Oh, and you're going to insert them and lick them yourself. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then, by the way, they make like little moistening things. I would not recommend licking 2,000 envelopes. That hurts. Anyway, and it was, yeah. And then do this for 6 months before you expect to get a deal. So spend 18 grand to get a deal. Insane. I don't know about you guys. I wasn't that rich when I started, and I'm not that patient, right? Like, if you told me I had to wait 6 months to expect something, I mean, guys, we're in like while I'm on this call, I could like DoorDash ice cream to myself if I wanted to, like, and have it in 30 minutes. I'm not trying to wait 6 months. So what I'm getting at here is like, stop looking for the next magic bullet. There's 100 people out here creating new like magical tools with new abbreviations that have never done deals that are trying to sell you a service. Like, I get asked all the time, like, oh, have you heard of like, like the Woofu app? And it's like, what is that? Oh, it's this like motivated sellers just enter their info and they give it to you. Like, really? Like, I doubt it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to be able, like, if you look at like the kind of marketing people are doing to get deals, you're never going to have a tool where people just go on and are like, yeah, I want to sell my house for less than what I want for cash to a stranger. Mm-hmm. They're never going to just submit that info over. So, I literally have friends that make multi-six figures using DealMachine. I have friends that make multi-six figures just using bandit signs, just cold calling, just texting, just doing direct mail to absentee owners. The big thing with all of these people is they're consistent.
Right.
You guys are here. You have a good crew. I mean, like, y'all don't know this, and I don't even know if I'm supposed to share this, but like, I was paid to be here for you guys. I love doing this kind of stuff, but like, the people who run this are investing into you guys. They don't have to do this. Like, you guys are already their clients or their customers. They're not like, at the end of this, there's not like by the way, if you enjoyed this, go to PayPal and flick over a few bucks to try to like recover their costs. Like, don't get me wrong. David and I are great friends. I would have done it for him for free, but gotcha. But like, yo, you have people here that care about you, that have built a tool, that have data that works. And you guys are looking for other stuff. Like, I can't put it more plainly than that. Like, go hard with what you're doing. Because I promise you, you move over to like some new tool, some new driving for dollars app, some new like, oh, this one just, unicorns go pick up deals for it. Like, you're going to get bored and you're not going to get anything done. The biggest problem single-handedly that I see with new investors, you guys are like little kids in a candy store. Of just like, oh my gosh, there's something, oh, I haven't heard of this before. Oh my gosh, I didn't know they had like, they still make Mellow Yellow. And it's like, you have people that are here that care about you, that have built and invested in platforms that you get to use, that like, people are making money on this, right? Like, DealMachine has tens and tens of thousands of users. I've even seen somebody who put out a course on how to use DealMachine because it changed their life that much, right? So, I mean, I'm just blunt. That's where I'm at.
No, I love like just how transparent you are with everyone. And that's why I kind of like, we could have just skipped over that question, but I was just like, I really do want to know. And like, because I know that there's a lot of apps, and like you said, what's the next like unicorn out there? So it's nice to hear that. And David will love to hear that.
And like, I'll be blunt. I would tell you guys like,
no, yeah.
I would be like, oh yeah, by the way, there's this thing that's great. I I don't have any real estate apps on my phone. Like I don't have the next like magic bullet or pill or tool for you. To be blunt, a lot of the ones that claim to do everything suck. Like I've tried the like, oh, this one will do your mail. It'll pull your lists. It'll find your cash buyers. And it's like, it's awful. So the perk you have with DealMachine is you guys are sending mail that's different. That's the biggest, like, that's the best thing you can do is you're sending something that doesn't match what everybody else is doing. Sorry to preach at you, Kevin, but you asked. How do I use Podio? Do I have a template for it? Do I have a Podio pack? So I own Call Porter. We're a US-based answering service for real estate investors. I've got like 25 full-time employees that only take calls for real estate investors all around the country. We've spent well north of 6 figures with a custom build on Podio with one of the founding developers at Podio. So they have like a custom CRM for our clients. I think you can just access our CRM. I think it's like $50 a month, $75 a month, something like that. But you'd have to just go to callporter.com and set up a call with them for that. It's not something we typically offer like standalone. All right, y'all got 5 more minutes. Anything like, what's your, like what questions do you have that you've been wanting to ask? Do I have a We Buy Houses website? Yep, I use a Carrot website. Again, Carrot makes an incredible product. You know, they have a big competitor whose name rhymes with like Schmiedschmomeller. That if you know who I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about. I tried their competitor and it was not great. I'll have people like, oh, I built this like WordPress website to try to save the $50 a month. And then their site looks awful and they don't get any leads out of it. What do I think about lease options? Y'all, I'd rather just do deals. Like if I have to like reverse lease options, sandwich something to try to pull a profit out of it, like I'd rather just find a good deal that I can turn around and sell to somebody at a markup. I've done maybe one of them in my career. Best website for cheap bandit signs, Dirt Cheap Signs is who I used back when I did them. If your company answers phones for investors, what can they answer? So like they're trained in like probates, pre-foreclosures, evictions. They're screening for equity, motivation, condition, and booking appointments on the initial call. Jonathan, your goal is to beat my 2017. Great, dude. Awesome. Let me know if I can be of assistance. My 2016 sucked. So you picked a better year to try to beat. Not doing Airbnbs or long-term rentals. Like just got regular people with regular jobs. How do I monetize no's and deals outside of my buying zone? I kind of don't. Like we'll refer some stuff to realtors, but the problem is most investors refer to a realtor way too soon. So like most of my deals take 10 touches to turn into a deal. I analyze my last 60. That's our actual metric. And most of them take about 30 days. So most investors, like this lady that I showed you guys, she's asking 280. Somebody would have been like, oh no, gosh, that's too high. I'm going to be too low. Let me introduce you to my bud Chad instead of like working the deal. Right. So are you here to be like a lead provider for realtors, or are you here to do deals and make money is ultimately what I tell people. What do I look at when I'm going into a new market to see if it's worth, what do you do when you're going into a new market to see if it's worth the investment? I'm really only in Indianapolis. I went into a couple of small markets. I got like 9 properties in St. Louis. I'm selling all of them. And I've got like 6 in Kentucky. And I just had friends that were there that I did some stuff with. Don't make somebody a business partner just because they're a friend. was the lesson there. I'm a newbie. My virtual assistants are cheating me. Not sincere for cold calling. I'm trying out wholesaling part-time. Any suggestions? Fire your virtual assistants and do it yourself. If you don't want to cold call, use DealMachine. I mean, it's hard to hire somebody to do something that you don't want to do yourself or haven't done a lot of yourself, in my experience.
For those who don't want to cold call too, our distressed formula is 200 properties at least, mailed at least 3 times each for one deal. So that's something, if you don't want to cold call and just market, that's like our distressed formula for that.
Do you guys, I hope you all realize how incredible that is. Like, yeah, that's nuts. Tamara, I'm a broker and investor. What's the best way to be an investor and not the realtor? Just make the transition. I played the realtor game for like four months. And then I was like, I've been working this lead for a really long time where they were trying to buy a $20,000 house that I was going to get $600 in commission on. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is not what I want out of my life. And then guess what? We went under contract and then they decided not to buy it.
Oh,
so it was like, I mean, they gave me $100 in their defense, because, you know, that was worth that time of my life. I've been using DealMachine for 30 days. I literally closed 2 deals.
Woo woo!
I mean, y'all, come on.
If you, is this Kevin? I just see Kev, but Kev, if you haven't done an interview with David, you need to chat us up because we want to interview you.
Yeah, that's awesome. John, do you continue to send custom ballpoint handwritten letters as your follow-up letters, or do you change up the letter and style?
Ooh.
I would recommend, and this is how you guys know I care about you, I would alternate it in. I wouldn't make it your only thing. It stands out. It's mainly what I do, but I own the company. So like, I mean, I get a little bit better pricing than other people get. All right.
I want to not take all your time. So yeah, just maybe one more question and then
I already got it.
I'm
going to answer Eric's. Eric, what advice do you have for my son who just started college and wants to be a real estate investor? So if he already wants to be a real estate investor, he already has the dream. I tell people all the time, like, I'm not here to sell the dream. I'm here to help people that already have it. Because as everybody who's on this call knows, like, this is something you can't shake. None of y'all know me except for like Bright, but like, you would not be here investing your time into this if this wasn't something you were seriously interested in or something that hadn't hooked you, right? So if he's already interested, I would encourage him in it. I'll be blunt. I didn't go to college. I didn't even graduate high school, technically. I was homeschooled, and at like 10th grade, my mom was just like, I'm tired of it. You've graduated. Not how that works, but okay. And I wasn't homeschooled the whole time, so I know how to be like civil with people in public. If you were like just straight homeschooled, you know what I'm talking about. So honestly, like, man, I would have him download DealMachine, do a little bit of driving for dollars. And I don't know your financial position, but I would maybe look for a property for him to buy, something he can house hack and rent out some rooms to some people, right? Get a good deal, get it off market. I mean, that would be huge. So yeah, if he's already got it, I'd support him in it. Feel free to have him ping me. I'm partial to people that are young and in school, because I'm 26. I'm not that old. I remember being like 19 and like, geez, I want to flip houses. And there's a lot of questions that come up with that.
Yes.
So, yeah. Appreciate you guys. I think we're going to call it a wrap, and I think we've got our next one on Thursday.
I believe so. David has not given me the full schedule, but he will be on next time. But thank you so much for being on here. I mean, it means a lot to us. And if y'all don't know, we have a video with Ryan, like from like a year or two ago. Like, it was in one of your like rentals or something like that.
Yeah, that would have been, I sell that house on the 16th.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yep. I'm actually making money on it too. I'm into it for 100 and I'm selling it for 141.
What?
Yeah, go ahead. Continue. Sorry.
Oh yeah. So we have a YouTube video of Ryan in his house, like just when DealMachine was just starting. So we really appreciate Ryan taking the time to do this and just your continued support. And thank you everyone who has been on. Yet again, we will have him back. So please, if we didn't get to your questions, don't worry. I added this to our story on Instagram and I did tag him in it. So you can follow him. But thank you everyone. And thank you so much, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fun. Talk to you guys next Thursday.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
All right. See y'all.